Shalom, family. Good to see everybody here. I hope you're all doing well. All praises to the Most High. We get to see another day of Gentiles making a complete fool of themselves. So, y'all, President Cyril Ramaphosa went to the White House. And, Donald Trump, as usual, tried to clown out another president, and he ended up looking like the clown. you know, um, Going at Ramaphosa is not like going after Zelensky. Okay. This man pretty much held his own with Donald Trump. And I'm sure he knows what Donald Trump is now. And the funny part is when Donald Trump was trying to show him proof of this white genocide that's going on, you know what Donald Trump's proof is, y'all? Julius Malema videos. That's proof. Now, let me tell you something. I knew instantly this came directly from Elon Musk. Back during the time when Elon Musk was purchasing Twitter, I remember I was interacting with somebody and they were telling me Elon hates Julius Malema. He hates him to the core. And that's no different than the people over here in America. If you are a quote unquote black man or woman and you speak up for yourself, they always dislike you. That is the norm. No matter where you are in this world, if you speak up for yourself and you're melanated, you're going to be hated. Okay. And we got our historians to prove it. I mean, look at our forefathers, our Malcolm X's and Dr. Martin Luther King, and anybody that had a strong voice out here. You're always going to be hated by white people. That this is just the way it is. So it was comical listening to Donald Trump. And then here's my other point. How you going to tell this man what's going on in his own country and your ass live way here in America? See, this is why it don't pay to get information from these folks at all. That's just like these folks trying to tell you about what's going on in the hood and all the violence in the hood, and they don't live nowhere near a hood. See, I don't take information from folks like that because they don't know what life is like in no damn hood, and you live out in some rural area or some suburb somewhere. You don't know what life is like in no damn hood, but this is how these folks talk. I got family that still live in the hood. It ain't no violence going on like the way they're describing. That's why you should never, if you want information about melanated people, go to another melanated person. Don't go to them at all. Not unless you just want some BS info. Okay. And Donald Trump, you need to stop calling other people criminals. Now, during that interaction he had with Ramaphosa, he's sitting there talking about Julius Malema should be in jail. In jail for what? Having a damn opinion? In jail for what? Donald Trump, I guess you keep forgetting you are a 34 convicted criminal. You belong in jail. The only reason why you are the sitting president is to avoid jail. Anybody that got that amount of convictions, you should be sitting in jail. Donald Trump keep talking like he himself is not a criminal. And in a just world, Elon Musk, his ass should be sitting in a jail too. But we don't live in a world with just and justice, a world with morals and do the right thing. We're in this crappy ass world where nobody cares about justice. Nobody cares about righteousness. Nobody cares about doing what's right. We live in a world that's ran by criminals like Donald Trump. But this man with a straight face is showing Julius Malema. Now, Ramaphosa personally knows Julius Malema. Why would he have to be shown videos about Julius Malema and Ramaphosa sees him all the time? Does this make sense to anybody? That's just like I encounter you every day. We interact every day. I talk to you, you talk to me, but some white person is now going to come along and show me videos about you like I don't know you already. Ramaphosa has known Julius Malema for years. And Donald Trump sitting there showing videos like he knows nothing about this man that's sitting in his same country. I mean, when I tell you what, Donald Trump, when you make an ass of yourself, you go really big. I mean, just the stupidity of the whole thing. Julius Malema deserves to be in jail. No, Donald Trump, you deserve to be in jail. That's why you sitting there hiding behind a presidency for the immunity. You were since the time you left the White House, you've been fighting for immunity and not accepting the fact that you were a private citizen. You wouldn't accept that. You went court after court trying to fight for some immunity that you were not entitled to as a private citizen. We know who the real corrupt person is, but that's his proof, y'all. That's his proof. And a couple of white people crying at some grave site. Oh, that's where the graves are. Get out of here, Donald Trump. Ramaphosa knows what's in those graves. He don't need you pointing to nothing over in South Africa. Instead of worrying about those folks over in South Africa and flying them all over here, giving them food, shelter, home, and paying all their bills, you need to be worried about the people right here in your backyard that you have yet to compensate for slavery. That's what you need to be focused on, not some damn foreigners that have no connection whatsoever to this country. Man, this man is a joke. And as far as I'm concerned, he just sat there and made a complete ass of himself. But Elon hates Julius Malema. Now you will fully understand why Donald Trump pulled those videos out. Donald Trump is a dumb, old, gullible man. Just a few weeks ago, he was trying to show everybody some doctored photo of MS-13 that was clearly typed onto a person's knuckle. And there's videos of Kilmar, and you can see his hands over there when he was in El Salvador, and there's no MS-13 on there. But Donald Trump is screaming and hollering, talking about the media won't show it because it's fake. Even I looked at that shit and could see it was fake. But he is a dumb, old, gullible man. And it don't take much to get him to believe some falsehood. It don't take much to get him to believe it. Thank you, Praise Yah, for the super chat. Look up our redemption draws nigh. It most certainly does. It most certainly does. So, look, y'all, you know, all I can say is put on your thinking caps and watch the video that I'm going to show you from CBS. And look at Donald Trump and even Ramaphosa. When Donald Trump started showing Julius Malema videos, Ramaphosa, you could clearly see this man was laughing. But this is what Donald Trump is calling proof of white genocide going on. And even the people that traveled with Ramaphosa told Donald Trump, no, most of the violence is done on the black population, not the white population over there. But you know how Donald Trump is. Once he starts believing something, he won't let it go. Just like the Central Park Five. Oh, when they had evidence and they were exonerated, to this very day, Donald Trump says they should have been executed. Even when they were exonerated. He's just, like I said, a gullible old man Once he gets on something, he could be as wrong as 2 left feet and he still won't change his position on it. That's the kind of person you're dealing with. All right, y'all. Let me share my screen. And before we get started, let's see here. Don't forget to pick up your shampoo. I believe there's still 15 left. If you are interested in getting the 20% off, type in the promo code shampoo20 during checkout to get your 20% off of the shampoo. So y'all, without further ado, we're going to get started with the CVS video, and we'll be talking about this for real. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. All right.
We didn't take them, we take them. We're trying to get them out as fast as we can. And we're doing record business on that. And we just won a big case where we're allowed to send back hundreds of criminals to Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear. But we do have a lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting. And we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that. It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things. But that certainly will be a subject that comes up. Yeah. Yes, please. Brian?
Thank you very much. I'd like to get your thoughts on Letitia James, Director Polte. According to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. I want to get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband in order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false accounts they have on here.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know that it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud, mortgage documents, and fraudulent everything. I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, or so she chose her father, and she put it down. And she said, didn't she sign in Virginia? Yet she said she lived in Virginia. Yet she's the New York State Attorney General. She did that for tax reasons, so she could take advantage of taxes. And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it. But I appreciate the question. Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. President, for you to be convinced that there's no genocide.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So May 25th will be the celebration of Africa Day, which pretty much a lot of celebrations will be taking place around the world, including here in the United States. What is your message to the entire African continent, African people in this important occasion?
Well, I want to see peace, and I want to see happiness. I want to see health, and you have incredible land. There's tremendous value. A lot of countries don't have that value in the land. The value you have. We have a situation. I think you probably heard about it. We've done through some very talented people, help settle a war that's been raging for years, Rwanda and the Congo. And I think we've done it. Believe it or not, I think we've done it. And could you just say a few words about that, my friend?
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, they signed, the two parties signed a declaration of principles in which they agreed on the way forward. And they have both submitted draft peace agreements, and we have put together one that incorporates both of their suggestions, and we've given it to them. So we're in the process of finalizing this.
Looking good, right?
Looking very good.
No, we have to thank you for even those efforts, because the African continent, particularly SADC, our Southern African Development Community, has for years been seeking to foster peace in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So all efforts, including those from outside the continent and inside the continent, are really worthwhile. We are removing our troops from there so that peace can then prevail in that whole area. And we hope that with the support of the international community, we will really have peace in that area. It's so vital, it's so important for the whole region.
Well, we sent our people there, and I think we did a very good job. I said it by my friend, and that was great. That was great. I mean, I'm just hearing phenomenal reports, because all I'm hearing is death, and they're chopping heads off, and it's horrible over there. And it was really brave of you to go there, and I really appreciate it. And it looks like we have something very, very substantial. We also talked about trade with them in terms of rare earth and all, but really more for it's like, if you take a look at what we just did with Pakistan and India, we settled that whole thing, and I think I settled it through trade. We're doing a big deal with India, we're doing a big deal with Pakistan, and I said, what are you guys doing? You know, somebody had to be the last one to shoot, but the shooting was getting worse and worse, bigger and bigger, deeper and deeper into the countries, and we spoke to them, and I think I hate to say we got it settled, and then 2 days later, something happens, and they say it's Trump's fault, but Pakistan has got some excellent people and some really good, a great leader. And India is my friend, Modi. And he's a
mutual friend.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Mm-hmm. And I called them both, and we just did something good. We're trying to settle Russia, Ukraine. Spoke with President Putin for 2.5 hours the day before yesterday. I think we made a lot of progress, but that's a bloodbath. 5,000 people are being killed a week, 5,000 soldiers a week, not including people in cities and towns that are also being killed. So we're trying to help. And it doesn't affect us. It's not our people. It's not our soldiers. It's Ukraine and it's Russia. But if we can save 5,000 souls, we'll do it. Pretty good at it. But that's a bad situation. That is a really bad situation.
Well, you'd recall when President Zelensky was coming to South Africa, that's when I spoke to you.
That's right.
We both agreed that we need to push the peace message so that there can really be peace. And we've been involved in the Ukraine-Russia conflict for quite a while through my Minister of State Security here. We've been dealing with them in the exchange of children who were taken away, going through names and addresses and all that. So we've been invested in that whole process as well. And the moves that you're making are fully supported by us, because we would like to see the end of that war. Yeah.
Sure. I called Zelensky, and they said, he's in South Africa. I said, what the hell is he doing in South Africa?
He was talking to us.
We got this thing. That's a strange one. I said, what are you doing in South Africa?
Yes.
That's a strange one.
He's trying to make peace. We're taking him. We were lucky because we had the great Nelson Mandela, who taught us how to create peace, to make peace. So we were imparting some of those lessons to him, some of those learnings. And I specifically mentioned to him that this is how Nelson Mandela taught us, that when you want to have a peace in a country, do it on an unconditional basis and sit down and talk. And that's precisely what I'm sure he's going to heed.
Well, I wanted to see what happens with that when it's there's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of death. It's a bloodbath.
It is. Unfortunately.
I get the satellite pictures of that field, of that killing field. You never saw anything like it in your life. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing that goes on, but I think we've made big progress. Yeah, please, go ahead. No, not you. Right here. He's from South Africa. Go ahead, please.
What are you expecting on the ICJ case? Are you expecting South Africa to drop that? Is that what you're trying to do?
On which case?
The ICJ
The International
case
Criminal Justice.
I don't expect anything, to be honest. I really don't. I don't know. It's they've got a case. There's a lot of anger there, tremendous anger. I don't expect anything. We'll see what happens. We'll have a ruling, and who knows what the ruling is going to mean. Yeah.
On that subject of Gaza, Mr. President, are you going to be speaking to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Israel's renewed offensive there? There's been a lot of concern from European countries. The Pope has expressed concern. Are you going to be asking Prime Minister Netanyahu to tone down the offensive in Gaza to let more aid in?
Was that a question or a statement?
It's a question.
This guy, you never change.
Mr. President, decide what will it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for the President. It's for him. No, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I'd rather answer that. It will be.
Our president will respond to you.
Yeah, let me-
Thank you, Mr. President.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But, Mr. President, I must say that we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it. Sure. And we have documentaries, we have news stories. And that, is Natalie here, somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things. And it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would. And turn the lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. Can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament?
Yes, honorable member. Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill. Ramaphosa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Pa, 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 pa. To kill Ramaphosa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
The man of D-Day is he is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, come on. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
Shoot to kill. Ramaphosa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Pa, pa, pa. Shoot to kill.
All right, you're watching in real time what is going on at the White House. President Trump hosting South African President Cyril Ramaphosa And, you know, he is wanting to make a case there, the president of the United States, to the president of South Africa. And he came prepared what the president would call receipts, video clips from what is going on there in South Africa through the lens of President Donald Trump, and likely through one of his informal advisors, which is Elon Musk, who is just, by the way, sitting off screen. So we have a chance to have somebody with us to have this conversation. The president obviously wants to have the conversation. And so the conversation is happening here on CBS News 24/7. On the ground in Johannesburg is BBC News correspondent Phumza Fulani. Phumza, what do you think the president of the United States hopes to accomplish by showing that carefully curated list of clips there?
I suppose one of the key reasons for playing that audio would be to try and substantiate these claims that he's made repeatedly, that white Afrikaners here in South Africa are under siege, that they are the victims of land seizures, that they are facing a quiet genocide that the South African government is not paying attention to. These are, of course, claims that have been repeatedly denied by the South African government, by independent security forces here in the country, and some courts as well, saying there is no genocide going on, that what there is a problem with in the country is crime, that it affects everyone, but that white people in South Africa are living actually more comfortably, but that the majority of Black South Africans.
Well, and the president of South Africa said to the president of the United States just before the president rolled that video that his Secretary of Agriculture wouldn't be in the room if these assertions were true. But still, the president of the United States persists that those video clips make the case, and the president of the United States used the term genocide. It was sort of hard for our viewers to hear all of what was being played on the screen there at the White House. But what, as somebody who lives and works there and hears the narrative from many different points of view, what is in those video clips that the president of the United States is really trying to get the president of South Africa to hear and respond to? What's in that narrative?
So in that specific narrative of the clips that we've described as carefully curated, you hear an opposition party leader advocating for land seizures here in South Africa. This is somebody called Julius Malema, whose campaign ticket has been of advocating for land grabs, saying that the current government's process of working together, of trying to plead reconciliation between white and Black South Africans is taking far too long and has continued to disenfranchise Black people. President Ramaphosa, who presides over a government that is mixed race, mixed cultural, has in fact distanced himself from those views, saying this is not the way of Nelson Mandela. This is not what they advocated for when they were freeing this country back in the 1990s. That part of the reason why he's got a mixed cabinet that includes an Afrikaner minister is to show that South Africa's future is in working together. So it will not surprise me if he tries at this interaction that he has with President Trump to distance himself further from that and saying this is somebody who's in the periphery or in the fringes of South African society, that those views are not widely embraced by the majority of South Africans.
And still, the president of the United States wants the president of South Africa to be held accountable for what happens in his country, fringe or not. Talk to me about what reaction is there to the fact that Elon Musk is in the room today. Is there a perception that Elon Musk is whispering in the ear of the president of the United States on these matters, and that's why they have come to prominence in a way that we did not see during the Biden administration?
This is somebody who has stoked the annoyance of many people, many senior political leaders here in South Africa because of that really close relationship that he enjoys with President Trump. It's come as a surprise to a number of people across a number of political parties that he has the president's ear this way. But perhaps some people are seeing it that it is good for him to be in that room because some of his inflammatory claims can be challenged directly by the South African delegation, and that the mixed delegation that the President Ramaphosa has brought in there will in fact have their own receipts that not only are they not land grabs, but Black and white South Africans are living largely harmoniously in the country, that the issue of the white genocide is non-existent. President Ramaphosa will want to try and steer the conversation towards a trade conversation, which is what the South African delegation is hoping to come away with. Away from the politics and the shouting, they want to know that the partnership that the two countries have enjoyed for decades can continue on a footing that is beneficial to both countries.
It was clear before President Ramaphosa went into the White House that the agenda setting definitely was, as you said, wanting to talk about trade, wanting to talk about U.S. aid. And it's very clear by seeing this live picture inside the White House, President Donald Trump wants another conversation altogether. Thank you so much for that perspective from where you are. Now let's go back to the White House and see as President Trump continues that conversation. Let's listen.
This is one after another. This family was wiped out. I'm just looking.
Can we get a report from President Ramaphosa? Give us your reaction to those videos, Mr.
President Trump.
Well, I think the videos are so. No. When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land, and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it, but this is a tremendous look. This is a story recent. These are all people that recently got killed, and I don't know how it can get any worse. These are and you know the men that you saw, the people that you saw in that movie. Those are officials. Those are people that were in office. They had one march. They had a dance in your parliament, whatever you may call it, legislature.
But let me clarify that.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that, because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies. And in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can take land.
And then when they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is
nothing happens.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now
The farmers are black. The farmers are not black. I don't say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed. Their heads chopped off. They died violently. And I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved here. But I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake, like NBC, which is fake news, totally, one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it. But they won't. This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this. Why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay, the United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force, so they could help us out, because we need an Air Force One until that's Air Force One, it's being built. 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are
And this is precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States,
Those are all recent.
and
Those are all deaths.
yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns, and these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about. Let me just add quickly, you know, the criminality that we are experiencing in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And in one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways, identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about that because there is support that we can get from you as the United States to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about. And we are here as a partner so that we can help each other whenever there are challenges. So I'd like us to discuss it, and of course, outside of the media, so that we sit down and have a really good discussion that will lead to good outcomes.
Are there any other punitive measures that could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things in the comments that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of bad things happening in many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, very bad. And because of we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time because you have the G20, and that's a big deal. And it seems like, I mean, I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of people, thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be killed and their land is going to be confiscated. And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership. And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
from them.
We have,
And those people, in many cases, are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers.
Mhm.
And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, and in many cases, those people are being executed. And in many cases, it's not the government that's doing it. It's people that kill them and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country, and they're white farmers, and they feel that they're going to die in South Africa. And it's a bad thing. Yeah, please.
What can South Africa do? What concessions would you like to see them make to improve relations with the United States? Then I have one more for President Ramaphosa afterwards.
Well, we just spoke about, I got them a very, very complex machine, 150 of them. And I was asked by the president if he could help. And I did that. And, I have great feeling for all countries. I deal with all countries. But I have a great feeling for South Africa because I have friends. I have a couple of friends, a few friends here today. I have many friends from South Africa. But many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do, get him into another thing. But Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted. He actually came here on a different subject, sending rockets to Mars, okay? He likes that better. He likes that subject better. But Elon is from South Africa, and I don't want to talk to him about that. I don't think it's fair to him.
That's right.
But I will say that people are fleeing South Africa for their own safety. Their land is being confiscated, and in many cases, they're being killed. And that scene of, you see how many crosses they have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning. That's a rough thing to explain away. And the problem we have, and the way, a correct and a fair media exposes things, but we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa. And it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it. The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon. Yes, please.
I was going to say,
Brian, go.
If I could just ask you a question. 72% of farmers in your country are white. If they flee, do you feel that maybe the economy could collapse? You may not have a gap to fill in those people that need to replace those farmers.
I'd like my Minister of Agriculture, who is white, who comes from an opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you've just raised. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to the White House. I would say we have a rural safety problem in South Africa. I don't think anyone wants to candy coat that. And it requires a lot of effort to get on top of it. It's going to require more policing resources. It's going to require different strategy to be able to deal with it. But certainly the majority of South Africa's commercial and smallholder farmers really do want to stay in South Africa and make it work. And I've just come from the largest agricultural show in the Southern Hemisphere with organized agriculture and farmers, and the majority of them want to stay. But they too, they have a memorial to those who've died as a result of farm attacks. And as the Minister of Agriculture, it is something that I'm particularly exercised with my colleagues at police and my colleagues in the justice cluster to start making farm attacks and stock theft a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft. It has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. Umkhonto we Sizwe under Mr. Zuma and the economic freedom fighters under Mr. Malema. Now, the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after 30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government. Because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our parliament, that's what you're going to see. And that is why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union buildings, because then South Africa's future would be.
So you denounced that type of language in the video that you saw?
Oh, yes. We've always done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I think, I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying, kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
We discussed USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent.
You know, it's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. And I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we've spent a lot, and it's a tremendous problem going on in many countries. A lot of problems going on.
You are watching CBS News 24/7, our news organization, listening to the President of the United States, calling the President of South Africa literally on the carpet there in front of the world press. Narrative setting, arguably, on something that he wants to talk about. We knew that the President of South Africa wanted to go in and talk about trade. The President said, yeah, we'll talk about trade, but, and then he wanted to talk about what he is calling a potential genocide of white farmers in South Africa. And the President of the United States came with what he would argue are receipts, video clips, putting the President of South Africa on the defense, having to explain not only from his perspective, but the perspective of his Secretary of Agriculture in that area, why they believe that this is not only a problem, but also something that needs the help of the United States. Arguably bringing in Liz Cook here now. Liz, fascinating time, arguably, when we talk about fiery meetings at the White House that have fireworks and headlines that come, I would say this is a second to the last one we saw, which is President Zelensky of Ukraine. This one will be a close second where fireworks are concerned at the White House.
A close second, that's for sure. And Trump repeatedly went after members of the media, too, for questions that they were asking during that bilateral meeting. I want to get to Natalie Brand now. She is outside the building where that is happening. She's outside the White House. Natalie, another explosive meeting inside the Oval Office. You've been watching the entire thing. What stood out to you immediately?
Hi, Liz. Well, this meeting started very calmly and cordially. It was during questioning by reporters when there was this extraordinary moment of President Trump calling for his staff to play this clip, which is pushing essentially these claims of genocide and attacks on white farmers in South Africa. This clip went on for some time, and then the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, tried to essentially respond. Take a listen to some of what he had to say.
What you saw,
I actually think we're going to
that were being made. One, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies. And in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
take land. And then when they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is
nothing happens.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now
the farmers are black. The farmers are not black. I don't say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed, their heads chopped off, they died violently. And, you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved here. But I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake, like NBC, which is fake news, totally, one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it.
So again, this extraordinary exchange happening in front of cameras in real time, the South African president having to respond on the fly to a video that he likely did not know was coming. And I can't really give you context about that video because I'm not sure exactly what was played in there since we're watching the head-on camera. But again, what we do know is it was pushing these discredited claims of genocide and land seizure, which the President Trump, you know, continues to claim is happening. Earlier in this in this conversation before cameras, he said this is something that will likely be discussed. And President Ramaphosa of South Africa said he wanted President Trump to hear from his delegation, including his white Minister of Agriculture, to kind of share their perspective around this issue. The Minister of Agriculture at one point also started talking and acknowledged that there are attacks on farms that occur and that they're trying to prioritize that as a crime, but that, you know, that's very different than these claims of genocide, which obviously the government disputes, and even a South African judge said this is just not real. But obviously very contentious turn of events here, even though I have to note the South African president is staying very calm throughout this. He's known for his negotiating skills. He's known by people who cover him as a famous negotiator who helped negotiate the end of apartheid in the 1990s when he was working with Nelson Mandela. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of history here. He started this conversation by saying he wanted to reset relations between the United States and South Africa. But now we're seeing this unexpected turn of events happening play out in real time, Liz.
It was remarkable to watch now. And I believe our producers here at CBS News 24/7 are efforting replaying that video. I'm just going to talk to them for a second. Do we have that video to play back yet? We do. All right. I want to get to that video and we're going to watch it together and just oh, no sound on it now. But as you were saying, Natalie, this is the video that was played for the delegation from South Africa, including the president. And this, Trump says, is the receipts that he was referencing, that there is genocide going on in South Africa. It was a very explosive moment inside the Oval Office. And can you give us kind of a sense of, you weren't able to watch the video, but as the video was playing, what was the reaction from the people from South Africa? Were they shocked to see this?
I mean, we'll have to talk to them afterwards. But again, notable that, you know, the delegation remains so calm, trying to explain their perspective and their side of what's going on. They obviously have, you know, more intimate knowledge of what's being played on the clip. And we heard President Ramaphosa address some of that in the exchange that we heard when we started the show. But, you know, this all comes as the Trump administration has about a week and a half ago accepted a group of white Afrikaners into the United States for resettlement, giving them refugee status, even as the administration restricts other groups from coming in, again, because of these claims of genocide and persecution and land seizures, which the government disputes. And it's also notable, Liz, that inside that meeting, we know is Trump ally and advisor Elon Musk, who himself grew up in South Africa and has helped to, you know, amplify some of these claims.
And what was his reaction to when all of this was happening? Were we able to see that at all?
I was not able to see that in the cutaway camera. I will note that at one point in the video, they were showing white crosses, which President Trump said represented some of the farmers who had been killed. And President Ramaphosa of South Africa did ask, he said, well, where is that? Do you know where that is? I'd like to know more about that and visit that. So obviously this is catching him and his team off guard. He came here, Liz, and speaking to reporters ahead of this meeting with really the sole purpose of trying to get a trade deal. South Africa, facing a lot of economic concerns, high unemployment. We know that a priority of his in coming here and talking to the president is trying to secure a trade deal and bring down the tariffs that were announced back in April by the White House on South Africa. So he was hoping for an economic conversation. And again, that's really how this exchange between the two leaders started, saying, I want to reset relationships. We are trade partners. We have a history here. He even referenced critical minerals. And then once again, similar to what we saw during the infamous meeting with Zelensky, it was during the reporter questioning when things really took a turn.
Yeah, and he definitely went after members of the media there, as he did in this particular bilateral meeting. All right, Natalie, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. I want to
Humane Society. We have CBS 8's Shannon Handy, the Humane Society, saying they are now treating a lot of these animals. Wow, Shannon, you see them there. What's been going on there?
Yeah, Netta, we just got access to this back area here at the Humane Society where you can see they are busy. They are washing these dogs who were displaced by this plane crash. Again, as we've been reporting all morning, there was a lot of jet fuel in the area, and some of that may have gotten onto these pets. So they are taking no chances. This is actually being treated as a hazmat situation. You can see the protective gear that these workers are wearing. Again, they are caring for some of the dogs displaced. I believe the Huskies you're seeing, we had them on our air this morning of humane officers taking them in a cart away from the scene. And then we have this. Okay, so we are looking at video that is, of some of the animals that are being rescued. When this happened, it happened at 4 a.m. Obviously, it was very loud, explosive, and very scary. And what we see, just like the 4th of July, when fireworks go off, we see animals run from their homes, get displaced. So what these Humane Society officers have been doing all morning, they have been driving around the crash site, not just the immediate crash site, but the perimeter of it, because as we know, this impacted streets that were very far away from the crash site. So these humane officers have been driving around neighborhoods looking for animals that don't appear to be with their owners, that appear to be displaced, and they are bringing them here. Now, one of these animals, I should mention, this dog right here, I'm not sure what the breed is. This dog was actually surrendered by its owner, and I'm told this dog has 7 puppies. Is that right? 7 puppies. And the owner gave up this dog, at least for now, and her puppies because she was directly impacted by this crash. Her home was near the crash site, and she said to the Humane Society, I cannot care for this dog or her puppies. And you can see her little face right now. I don't want to touch her while she's getting cleaned up, but you can see she looks a bit nervous, but she's calm, but she's being cared for. In fact, right now she's being examined. Do we know how old the puppies are? 7-week-old puppies. And where are those puppies right now? They're going to another campus right now, but they'll be reunited. Okay, so they're going to another campus right now to be cared for, and they'll be reunited. I'm going to actually switch over to this dog right now. You can see this pup's leg is up. Again, I don't want to get too close, so we're not sure exactly what the injury is, or if that's just its leg up because it's being bathed. It's scared right now. So you can see the fear in this pup's face. But again, they are being really well cared for. And you guys, this is just a few of the dogs. There's
Sorry about that, y'all. Somebody, of course, called me and I got caught up in a phone call and just had to get off of there. So anyway, it is painfully clear Donald Trump got really bad information from Elon Musk, and he just chooses to believe falsehoods. And, that's why I call him an old, gullible man, because at the end of the day, no matter what you say to Donald Trump, he is going to just sit there and believe anything that came from Elon. And you can see how, he gets caught up in falsehoods and he does not know how to let it go. It is inevitable. What can you do with an old man like him? Seriously, you're not going to be able to do anything. And, I can look at them people, and we all saw them when they got off of the plane, that there was nothing done to them people. They all had on new clothes. They look like they were going on vacation. That's how they came off the plane. We saw how overweight many of them were. And I said, these folks, they're not going through nothing. If anything, they're having the easiest time over there in South Africa over anyone else. So when Donald Trump talking about thousands of them are what thousands? He's just making a bunch of vague count, hundreds of them, thousands of. Well, where's your proof? All you showed was Julius Malema's speeches. I mean, come on, that's proof. Okay, so if anybody takes on microaggressions against us, is that proof of genocide too? I want to know. Or if somebody uses the N-word, or the next time Karen calls the police, can we label that as genocide over here? I'm just wondering. But that was shameful. That was his proof, y'all. Julius Malema videos and a stack of papers that, I don't know where those people are from. Those people in those papers could have been in many different locations across Africa. And who's to say everybody in those papers are deceased? They may not be deceased at all, because I never heard of this great slaughter going on among the white population in South Africa ever. I have never heard about it even once. You know why? And then he keeps saying it's not in the media. It shouldn't be in the media because it ain't true. Why should something that's a lie be in the media? And he just keeps saying, well, the media's not saying anything. Well, say anything about what, Donald Trump? Your lie? Because you cook up some crap up in your head, it should be all over the media? This is embarrassing that the president is this dumb and gullible, and anybody can sit in his face and say something and he runs with it. I guess the White House don't research anything. So all them people around Donald Trump, nobody is researching anything and getting the correct story. That says it all right there about his whole administration. Not just him, but his entire administration. It is embarrassing. And they even told Donald Trump most of the fatalities, most of the violence is against the Black population in South Africa, not the white. If anything, they're living very comfortably over there. He don't want to hear it. He don't want to hear whatever Elon told him. That's the truth. And we know what a big liar Elon is. And see, Elon is butt sore because they would not allow Starlink over there in South Africa. And I really believe what is all of this talk of white genocide, that's what it's stemming from. Elon couldn't get his way over there. And this is his way of retaliating, getting in Donald Trump's ear and convincing him that these white South Africans are being harmed and they're everything but that. And what's wrong with the people, the original people of the land getting their stuff back? What's wrong with that? Okay, just like over here, people should get their things back. They should be compensated. So it's okay for white people to steal land, but if the original owners want the land back, that's genocide? Really, Donald Trump? So the original people can never have their land back if we look at things the way you do. Unbelievable. It's embarrassing having a man like this as your president. It is absolutely embarrassing. And the thing is, South Africa got the law to compensate the land, to get it confiscated and get it back. And they said they're not even exercising the law right now. And look at Donald Trump sitting there acting like this is what's going on. And I said, how do you know what's going on in South Africa on a regular basis, Donald Trump? You don't know nothing about that place. Wow. Wow. And yeah, I saw Elon standing in there. I knew he was going to be there, and he's going to always be there. The only reason why Donald Trump is taking Elon out of the fold, he's still there, but not in front of the cameras, is because Elon has lost a lot. Elon is terrible in front of the camera. He stammers all the time. He's very unlikable. When he's doing evil to people, he's doing it with a smirk on his face, and folks don't like it. So now they're not showing him in efforts to hopefully stop the hemorrhage of him losing so much money and people refusing to buy Tesla. So I guess they think if they don't show him no more, people will forget and just start doing these things again. No, Elon is done. Elon is done. There is no saving this man. He's finished. His business is finished. There is no saving Tesla. That ain't going to do it, keeping him out of the cameras, because people know he's still there. Just like we saw him there during the press conference. He's still there. He's still all up in Donald Trump's ear. And Doge has not been dismantled. So he's still behind the scenes doing all the Doge stuff, but since he's lost billions and billions and hemorrhaging money, yeah, they're trying to save him now. Oh yeah, we're just not going to include him in this conversation. You can't include Elon in any more conversations because people can't stand him and they're going to retaliate on his butt. So y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you for being here. And we'll definitely come back together again on a different topic. Please enjoy the rest of your day, family. Shalom.